Sting is the newest creature feature of 2024, and in this film we follow Charlotte, who befriends a mysterious spider that shows some signs of intelligence. But after a series of disappearances, she must face the facts about her pet and fight for her family's survival as the once charming arachnid she once knew rapidly transforms into a giant flesh-eating monster. That's all I'm gonna say without spoiling this movie. Let's talk about Sting. Now, going back to the beginning, to be completely honest with you, I knew about this movie's existence for quite a while when I was out searching the web. I was searching the web for brand new horror movies because I was going to make a video about some brand new horror movies that were coming out about last year sort of thing. And a movie really caught my eye, Sting. A movie about a giant spider, which immediately caught my eye because, I have something called, it's kind of small. It's not really like a very common thing, It's called arachnophobia. I don't know if you've heard about it. It basically just means I'm absolutely fucking terrified of spiders. And I think that was kind of like the only reason I needed to watch this movie, because I always like being scared. Like, I like the adrenaline that I get out of that sort of experience. So if a movie like this could scare me, I would 100% be down to see it, because honestly, I really like to challenge myself with these kind of things and try to get over my fears. Like, it's kind of hilarious that walking into Sting, I was like 10 times more nervous seeing Sting, a movie about a spider that falls from the sky, than a movie like The First Omen or Talk to Me or The Conjuring 2. Like, this movie unironically had me kind of on the fence because I was actually genuinely creeped out that I was gonna like genuinely be really scared from this movie. And I just gotta say it right now, no. No, I was not scared throughout this movie, but that's very simply because this movie is not meant to be a scary horror movie at all, and if it is attempting to be, they didn't succeed, I'll say that much for free. But what I really think they were trying to do in this movie is just make a super entertaining, cheesy B-movie that you would see on the Sci-Fi Channel at like 2 a.m. in like the early to late 90s or 80s. That's exactly what this movie is. This movie is just a cheesy, fun movie that I had a lot of fun watching for like no reason. It was just so goddamn funny to me. So I wanted to talk about it today. This movie unironically was one of the most fun theater experiences I've ever had in my life, just coming from the fact that no one was in the theater. There was no one talking, there was no annoying background, people laughing in the corner, like no, there was none of that. It was just me and my 4 friends sitting in a theater laughing at a cheesy horror movie, and that was the best thing ever. Like, I needed that so much, because after a couple movies I've seen this year where people are just non-stop chatting, it was so nice to just have a movie where we could just sit down, laugh at a cheesy horror movie, and not worry about the people around us just ruining it for us. And I could not have picked a better movie, because this movie is the most cheesy, outlandish, out there movie I have seen pretty much all year, and it does it perfectly in a way that makes it an actual fun movie to watch. Like, it's not a good movie. Like, I want to stress it right now. I really don't think it's that good of a movie, but just coming from an entertainment value, this movie was just something else. Like, it was so much fun to watch. But that doesn't necessarily mean there wasn't, like, good things about this movie. There was actually quite a few things about this movie that I actually really appreciated. Starting out with the practical effects, which I actually think don't look that bad in this movie. Like, considering what they could have been, especially for what I assume the budget was, which this is a pretty, like, low-budget movie, so I was expecting a lot worse. But what they got here is actually pretty good. Like, it's actually not bad at all. There are actually a couple really good scenes of practical effects in this movie, especially with some of the kills in this movie, because there's a lot of pretty violent kills, and they're very fun to watch. I'm just gonna say it right now. They do involve this friggin' spider, which I hated it. I hated the spider throughout the entire movie. It kept bugging me because I don't like spiders. And I actually thought some of the other practical effects that they use, particularly for the spider's webs, and there's a lot of sequences where our characters are like strung up in these like really gross looking webs, and I actually think they looked pretty decent, all things considered. It actually was kind of a disturbing sight to an extent, especially for someone who has arachnophobia. I feel for other people they're just gonna be like, oh well, that's fine. But coming from me, was a little on edge, just a tiny bit, so it did kind of disturb me a little bit. But to a person that doesn't have arachnophobia, it's probably not gonna be like that scary at all. Like, it's just not, because this movie is not meant to be scary, in my opinion, like I said before. And with that, a lot of the things in this movie are just gonna be kind of goofy, cheesy fun. Like the acting. The acting is not really on par with like most high-budget movies, obviously, because this movie is very much just meant to be cheesy. So there's a lot of characters in this movie that are just like the most stereotypical characters you've ever seen, but have some of the funniest screams known to man. Like, we were dying in the theater when some of these people were just getting taken out by this spider. It was so goddamn funny. I wish I had clips to show you. I wish, because it was so goddamn funny. And that actually just made a lot of the characters actually pretty likable. Like, they're not, like, well-written characters or anything, but they were funny characters to have on screen, and I didn't mind following them throughout the movie. But I can really appreciate them just trying to make a fun movie. But with that, I do have a very small complaint with this movie that I know exactly why it was there. Like, it's an extremely obvious complaint, but it's the fact that this movie is extremely dark. And that's not coming from a point of view of, oh, this movie was really disturbing and really got under my skin. No, that's not the case at all. It's just the fact that this movie is dark. Like, they shoot the movie with basically no lighting the entire time. There are so many sequences in the movie where I have no clue what's going on. Like, I have genuinely no clue. You can tell something is on the screen, but you can't quite make it out. And the very simple reason as to why they did that is because they were trying to hide some of their more, I guess you could say, unfinished CGI, or more or less like cheaper looking CGI, and maybe some of the practical that doesn't look like amazing, but even though it still looks good, they were just trying to hide that to make the movie seem a little bit more believable. And I understand why they did it, but it still did kind of get on my nerves that I couldn't tell what was happening in certain sequences, especially a lot of sequences where they're in like these vents. But really, that's all I really gotta say about this movie. I thought Sting was a pretty fun watch. It's not a very good movie or anything. I'm not gonna like come out and say it's the best movie of the year or the best horror movie of the year. No, this is a movie that is extremely goofy, campy, and ridiculous, and it's just meant to make you laugh. Like, that's literally the whole reason I'm convinced that why they made this movie. And with that, I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 10. Like I said, there is some fun to be had in this movie, but it's just not a very good movie. I felt it could have just been a lot better. If they were actually trying to make it a scary movie, I think that they could have done something here. But for what it is, just being a goofy movie, I did have a lot of fun with it. It was a pretty fun watch, and I could definitely see myself getting drunk and watching this again, like, easily. This was a really fun watch. But that's my opinion on Sting. If you have a different one, leave it in the comments below. I'll make sure to read it. But with that, if you like this video, you can go like and subscribe down below for more content on the channel coming pretty damn soon. And I'm gonna see you on the next one. See ya.